passed in mathematics, securing the qualifying grades of A1 to C6, which means about 250,000 did not qualify or did not pass mathematics. And also, we've been talking about the situation where our performance in the core subjects, the rate of pass has been reducing over the period. We want to understand what's the problem, what's happening. And this morning, we're privileged to be joined by Professor Stephen Adei. He's an educationist. And let's get onto the phone lines and speak to him. Hello, Prof. Adei. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
Great. So the last time we spoke to you, you had actually talked about the fact that you were not going to be using BECE as a means of or a mode of admission into Christian high school, which you own. But today our focus is on WASSCE, 2025 WASSCE, the pass rate, particularly in the core subjects. And of concern is that less than 50% passed in mathematics. Professor Adei, what is happening to our student performance, particularly in the WASSCE?
First of all, this is not something that is happening today. It has been with us for a long time. Some of us have been talking about it, but after the examination, everybody will come, we hear it, and it goes quiet. The main source of the problem happens at the basic school level before the secondary school. The foundation we have in the public schools is what the World Bank describes as schooling without learning. So, first of all, those who are moving from the secondary and middle and primary clinical to university to the senior high school, generally, we don't have the right material for about half of them. And it's almost like wholesale promotion. Unless we tackle a fundamental issue of almost producing illiterate people at the basic level, in fact, these results will be the best we can hope for. In fact, in the branch of our school in my village, when they come for public schools, we spend 1 full year on them for them to meet the normal JHS standard before they proceed to the senior secondary school. Number two, most of the public school at the basic level, because they themselves don't want to teach, they take their children to what we call poor private schools. Now, with free SHS, which I must say in principle I support fully because nobody should be left behind, we now go to the secondary school almost wholesale with half of the students not good enough, and then the numbers. The other day, I found out that the number per class in the average school, especially the good ones, is about 80 students seated into a classroom. It takes magic to be able to attend to 80 students rather at a time.
Okay.
But when still, even the top schools like Preseg, like even Falsipim, we get here with the troubles which something we will address under different circumstances, because Christians must have the liberty to preach their Christianity, have a system whereby they focus on a fee for a national science, math and science quiz. But the teachers don't care who they never cover their syllabus unless you pay to go to the same teacher's afternoon class. So therefore, poor students who have gone to the senior secondary school and their parents cannot pay 400 Ghana cedis per subject per term are not being educated in our public schools. So, for me, I'm even happy to see these results because the students, many of them, will try, irrespective of everything, to study. But the conditions they are studying under, the attitude of the teachers, and especially if you cannot pay for afternoon classes, they will deliberately not cover the syllabus in class unless you pay for the afternoon class.
I'll come to the attitude of the teachers, but if you look at the pass rate, for instance, from 2021, you realize that in English language from 54% in 2021, 2022 60.3%, 2023 73.11%, and then there's a reduction to 69.52. Now you find a similar trend in social studies, for instance, from 66% to 76% in 2023. Then there's a reduction to 71.53% in 2024. So while there's been that performance, somebody would argue that over the period, even though we had this kind of teaching that you're talking about, at least we had more than 50% of them passing. So why can't they do that in 2025?
Well, let me be the devil's advocate in this case, though I don't think that the devil should be recognized. The reality could be that invigilation and vigilance was better during the last examination because examination malpractice is so widespread that a lot of them, even the passes we see. So it depends whether WAEC has been a bit more vigilant and put in a better system. So our results depends not so much on the students' performance, but also how many people get away with murder. So that is one case. Of course, it may point also to worsening teaching, but I don't have that evidence to that effect. And so I can't. So the variables are many.
Okay, but you talked about
definitely it is not improving.
You talked about
also,
teachers.
Whether you are
you talked about. Okay, go ahead.
Level of cheating and examination malpractices that can account for up to about 10% difference in the results. So there are many other variables. So the decline may not be actually worse performance, but much more better supervision of the examination. So I don't have the capacity to be able to explain the worsening situation.
Okay. But you talked about teacher performance. You talked about the fact that, some teachers, unless you attend their afternoon classes, there's supposed to be supervision on our campuses. So why aren't the headmasters making sure that these teachers perform their primary responsibilities of teaching?
Provided the headmasters, and many of them are not accomplices. It's like when a policeman by the roadside is saying, "Hey, Charlie, pay." It's not the constable only.
Okay.
So,
what is your suspicion? What do you think is really happening? I mean, the
I have always said this. Unless we decentralize leadership so that you allow the principal or everybody else to be responsible to discipline teachers, to fire teachers, and hold them accountable for the results. That is one area. Leadership is cause, everything else is effect. Again, there's a need for us in the longer run to have quality community secondary schools. Day one that people will go to decongest our schools because the numbers which everybody must go to school have paced the ability to give quality education. Again, this idea of afternoon classes must be stopped so that if the teacher is not allowed and is illegal, you cannot do that. And if you do it, you would be sanctioned. Because we all know it. The police know it, the government know it, the principals know it, the teachers love it. In fact, I just interviewed by chance a teacher who had moved from a B school to an A school. And I said, what's the difference? Well, the big difference is that at the A school, the people are prepared to pay for you to do that class. So he gets about twice the salary or more from that. Unless we tackle this up front, then we wouldn't see an improvement. And the people from the culture who go to secondary school and cannot pay up to about 10,000 for afternoon classes has no future.
Prof, this drop in performance is quite astonishing. How do you expect it to affect admissions into university in the coming year? Bearing in mind that so many of them have these results failed.
Interestingly, that is why these things have been going on year after year. Those who have passed are enough to fill our spaces in the universities, especially at the public universities. So therefore, it is not being felt across, because most of the people who will then get admission are the people like me and you, our children, who can be sponsored afternoon classes, vacation classes, and go. You see, our university spaces will be not more than 50%. So therefore, if 50% pass, admission is not the problem. You see, so therefore, people are suffering quietly. They don't get admission. They go to NOVDEC and try. But the universities are still getting the numbers because of the spaces in the university are not enough. So, for example, I was told that 4,000 people have applied for 150 places in the medical school of University of Ghana Medical School. So, if this is the case, then they can afford to pay 3,000 and still they have sufficient space to fill the 150. So the issue is not university spaces. It has to do with what we are going to do holistically.
Prof, let me ask about what you said regarding the improved supervision of the exams by WAEC, which you believe is a factor.
No, I said it could be. At this moment, I haven't done a research, but this could be the factor, yes.
Right. Well, if that turns out to be the case,
yes,
would that then suggest that the performance we've been seeing in the past has been largely due to cheating and malpractice?
For sure, it's a follow-up. If what I'm saying is true, then it means that the performance could have been the result of doctrine, or examination malpractices, and people getting away with it. These are some things that must be fully researched, but who will do it?
All right. Prof. Stephen Adei, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are very grateful. Professor Stephen Adei, former rector of GIMPA and also an educationist, joining us this morning here on the Super Morning Show.